Welcome to the Nothing to Prove, Only to Share podcast.
Here we are.
This is Greg Volker.
Good
Thanks
to be
for
here.
being here.
Yeah, of course.
So I want to be better about, not acting like the viewers or the listeners know everything that I know. I think I need to be better about that.
Yeah, it's part of the interviewer skills.
Yeah, right. I'm working on it. So I know you through the Woods and
Mm-hmm.
guys, another local musician that I'm connected to through them. But will you, give us some backstory? I know that you're from California.
I'm not from California.
Oh, you're not from California.
I'm from here.
You're from here.
Yeah, I went to California for graduate school.
Oh, I see.
And then got married and had a kid. And then as soon as my kid went off to college, I moved back in 2018.
Oh my gosh, this whole time I really thought you were from California.
Yeah.
Okay, so go back further.
I'm Minnesotan, all through and through. So, well, I was born in Germany. My dad was in the service, stationed over there, and then lived in. I think he finished out his service in Spokane.
Okay.
And then they moved back here. Both my parents are from Minneapolis. My mom's from St. Louis Park, and I grew up in St. Louis Park. Yeah.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah. Then went off to graduates, went to the university here, got a Bachelor of Fine Arts, went to San Francisco Art Institute to get my MFA in 1990.
Okay.
And then moved back in 2018. Yeah.
Cool. So when did the music start for you? Like when did you start playing, singing, writing?
Well, I was always around it a little bit, but I didn't really get rolling until I was in California. So, I played I lived in an apartment on Loring Park with my old buddy, Don Bratland of the Bratlander fame with Matt Arthur.
Oh yeah. I do know that name.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And, which we're all getting very incestuous now with each other. And I played his guitars badly. And then, but my grandfather, there's music in our family. My grandfather was the concert master for the Minnesota Orchestra for a long period of time.
Cool.
Ted Patashny is his name. And my grandmother sang opera. And supposedly they met at Juilliard somehow. We don't really know the story very well. And then they got married and she got pregnant. And of course, back then she stopped singing to raise the family and he kept rolling. And so I have that in my background. It's one funny little story. I played clarinet in the school band because my name starts with V and I didn't get to pick trumpet or drums, right?
Sad.
So it's all alphabetical order is brutal on people. So I was playing and I was always like fourth or fifth chair, wasn't terribly good. Mm-hmm. And then I asked my grandpa about how to do a chair test. And a chair test is they give you one little piece of music and you get 1 minute to look at it and then you have to play it.
Yes.
And so he taught me, he said, check this. So I did it and I nailed it. And my teacher, of course, knew who my grandpa was through the House of Note music store that he started. And he just stopped and stared at me and went, "You've been talking to your grandpa, haven't you?" I said, "Yep." Went up to first chair. So it's always been around. Mm-hmm. And then I got into writing more when a guy I met at graduate school named Adam Austin, who's been a longtime friend ever since, could really play. And I started copying him and that kind of set me off. Yeah.
You're also, so you studied art and I know that you work in pottery. What other thing, or is that kind of the main focus in that?
Well, ceramics was where I got started. Okay. I did mostly sculpture, which is a whole nother world of conversation about, the ceramics world. But, and then I did bronze casting in the foundry. I did glass work. I did a lot of different stuff and then sculpture in San Francisco.
Cool. We've been talking a lot on the podcast just about like making your hobby or making art your job. And I think I obviously have takes on this based on the music stuff that I'm doing, but I also was a photographer. So I have like a whole other world where I made my passion or my hobby my job. Mm-hmm. And you do too with ceramics. Do you want to talk about that? Like making art as a job?
I'll just briefly about it. I mean, to me, it's kind of a tired subject, but
Sure.
you have to. I mean, and I've heard a lot of this lately, little snips on this, and you just have to make what you want to make. And if it becomes a job, then lucky you.
Mm.
But the temptation is to make stuff that you think will make it your job. And that's where you're totally hooped. I mean, you're just that's a dead end. So you'll end up, making things for Target or something,
Right.
So you just have to follow it. And if you get lucky enough to turn it financially, then whoopee.
Yeah.
But then it's hard to keep it as well once you get there, because
Right.
every gallery owner I've ever wanted, you hear this in the music industry, like Neil Young, famous story, from Geffen Records. We don't think that this latest record you made really represents the music of Neil Young. And he's like, what the fuck are you talking about? I'm Neil Young. I define what it is.
Yeah.
And that's a hard challenge when you start to get money involved. Yeah.
Let's talk about your most recent release was what was the record called?
This Time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so all of those songs they were already published?
Yeah, so it's This Time's a little play on it. So I got back here and I really moved back to Minnesota so that I could afford to play music and make art again, because for a long time, and when I was living in Sonoma, my creative life just waned.
Yeah.
Raise a family and all that. And it just wasn't, there were some lovely, fantastic people I'm still very dear friends with to this point, but it wasn't what I would call a vibrant, creative environment.
Sure.
And so when I got back, I dove in, and then I met the lads playing with Matt Arthur, and hooked up with them. And I'm like, okay, well, this is such a different thing than I've had before.
Yeah.
I want to get it down, and I need to get something rolling again. And I hadn't written anything in a while. So I just went, all right, well, we're going to do like a best of Greg Volker record, but we're going to re-record all the songs. And then I did a song by my former bandmate in Dirt Road, and she played in Deer Crossing a little bit. Donna Jean Foster, I did one of her songs, Mount Zion Road, and then threw in the cover of the Gillian Welch tune, Tennessee, which is nobody's asked me about that yet, really, about that song, which is I was wondering what the response would be to a guy doing that song. But
yeah, nobody's giving
not
you
really,
any
which is
feedback on
good.
that.
I'm glad of that, right?
Yeah.
It's like, because good, okay.
So Emmy Woods was here before, and she also
I love Emmy. Yep.
has the guys, and she I was asking her, and I'll ask you, do you feel like your songs changed with the group playing with the backing band?
So yeah, part of the other impetus to re-record these songs was one reason or another. I wasn't happy with the recordings from before. So with the Dirt Road CD, it was my first time recording, and I did it on a 1/2-inch 8-track machine with a tiny little mixing board, a portable, crazy, piece of junk. And so the recording quality wasn't very good. And the Deer Crossing, I kind of thought I could mix it in a proper studio, and it turns out, no, I can't. So the mix isn't very good. It could be so much better. So I thought, all right, let's just do a new version with these guys, and they're a different kind of musician that I've played with as well, and with the jazz influence that they have.
Yeah, totally.
And the ability to dialogue while we're playing, which I really love. So I thought, let's just do that. So the This Time is the name of one of the songs, but it's also kind of a pun on,
This Time.
Yeah.
Totally.
So, yeah.
I love that.
Yeah.
There's another project that you had. I think I just saw this recorded in '99, but released last year. What
the
is
Letters
that?
to the Beleaguered.
Yeah. Do you want to talk about that and
Sure.
how that came together?
Yeah, that was just me working on my own mostly.
Okay.
That was kind of my first, what you would call, solo record, I guess. And I recorded most of it before I moved up to Sonoma, and finished it once we were up there. And then it just sat for a long time because my creative life wasn't happening. I'm not gonna. But and since then, all the platforms for putting music out has become so simple to do and easier to do.
Yeah.
That I said, well, what the heck? I'll put it out. I really like it. I've always liked the music on there. So
Cool.
we just threw it up. Yeah.
When it came to moving back to Minnesota, like, was there any pros and cons list happening, or was that an obvious choice? Like, I've kind of been curious about, pursuing music here versus in California.
It was a no-brainer for me.
Okay.
One, it's going home.
Yeah.
Two, the music scene here, I was so heavily influenced by the music scene here in the 80s when I was in college.
Sure.
With all the bands that made the scene what it was here. And the difference to me in San Francisco and the Bay Area was that the bands didn't stick around and listen to the other bands play. They finished their set and left.
Yeah, not really a sense of community.
I would get into arguments with bookers that I wanted to play in the middle spot. Like, no, well, you're going to headline. I said, well, then put me in the middle so that more than just my friends will come and hear us. And it just wasn't part of it was practical. You couldn't leave your stuff in a van in the alley in San Francisco because it'd be gone. But also there just wasn't that community feel.
Yeah.
Except for in the open mic scene where I really got started. And the open mic scene there was just incredible. So many good people playing. And Matt Nathanson came out of that a little bit. Train came out of that a little bit.
Wow.
I'm trying to think. I'm terrible with remembering names and stuff like that. But it was just high quality stuff. You could play every night of the week. Sometimes we'd play more than one in a night. And it was just fantastic. That scene was great. We would play at the end of the night at the Hotel Utah was like kind of our home base, and that we'd jam at the end of the night and play a bunch of stuff, and that had that really good feel. But once I got into a band and started going out with bands, it wasn't there. Yeah.
That's something that I've definitely appreciated too, as I've kind of made my way into the scene a little bit and met more people, like the sense of community or like just being friends immediately. Like there are people that I've made connections with. Well, in the podcast too is huge for that. Like I'm connecting with all these musicians in the area, and everybody's so nice. Like it's so cool to feel the support from other musicians in the area. I think that's huge.
Yeah, and the I talked to a lot of, when I moved back here, a lot of my friends were like, "Are you out of your mind moving back to the Midwest?" And let's be clear. Minnesota is not the Midwest. Minnesota is the North. We're different. This is not Missouri, right?
But
and there's a community feel, and they're all like, "Well, what makes that feel?" And I just heard what's his name, Chris. Gosh, I'm so terrible with names, from the Hold Steady, talking about this with Rick Rubin on the way over here about the Minnesota scene, and it's just, everybody has a basement. So they have a built-in rehearsal space that's quiet. They don't have that in California and other places in the country.
That's a good point.
Right? And you don't have winter, which forces, there's nothing else to do.
Yeah.
And if you're a dumb kid and you don't have a girlfriend, well, then you play in a band or something, right? So, and then that camaraderie between them. Like I just remember seeing Soul Asylum, the Jayhawks, Run Westy Run play on the same night. Yeah. And then they would play together at the end of the night. It was just mind boggling,
Absolutely.
Yeah, it was amazing.
Yeah. I love that. I'm just envisioning that.
Yeah.
And it's reminding me of when we went to your release show at Underground and how Jake got up with Rune and Five. I love that shit. Yeah. I love collabs and like just the no pressure energy of like we're just playing.
Well, and as we all get more familiar with each other, the different groups that the guys are playing with, like with Tyler, just met Tyler.
Yeah, Tyler Hag, yeah.
And so I'm excited for that. And we're talking about putting a tour together or some mini tours together for the summer. And that'll be fun. We really want to do some of that.
Yeah.
Playing together and cross-pollinating like that. So.
Oh, that's so awesome.
Yeah.
Do you have any what's the like scheduling touring process? Like, are you deep enough to like
Oh
talk
my
about that
God.
at all?
Booking is a nightmare. It really is. Tyler said he was going to take the reins and give it a whack because of his label.
Good
He's
for
got
him.
some
Yeah,
connections.
I feel like he's got
I
that.
feel like it's just another link in the chain of all of this that's just really huge to have on our side. And so you just call and, we're hoping that like this, if Emmy goes with us as well, then we've got a whole night of music. Just, all right, the Minnesota invasion in your town is happening tonight. And it's fun. So we talked a lot with the guys about what to name them or if we would name them.
Oh, like because they're Emmy and the Red Pine Ramblers. Like
Yeah.
something with
And
me.
then
Sure.
we kind of came, and I think with that, with Emmy naming them that, we went, let's have you be a different band name. And the setups are a little bit different. It's the core guys are the same, but so we thought, let's have each band have a different name, and then it won't be just like, Greg's playing with Woodson, now Emmy's playing with Woodson, and now Tyler's playing with Woodson. So I don't know, maybe we're formally announcing it for the first time here, but it's Greg, Volker, and the River.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, which is what they are with me now. Fun. And then it's the Red Pine Ramblers. And then I'm not sure what it is with Tyler. It's something else with Tyler.
I know they were throwing out ideas. Bob,
or maybe they still haven't settled on it yet.
I don't know. Bob was like talking about he's just always joking. Everything he says is a joke.
Well, I found that out with your name too. Calling you Abby. He's like, don't call her Abby. Only Bob calls her Abby, and that's to piss her off.
He calls me Abigail, which is not my name.
Oh, right, yeah.
I did grow up as Abby though.
Yeah. Oh, okay.
But going by Avery Ann,
So
So Abby is technically short for Avery Ann in my case.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. He's fun to have around. So they all are.
I know that you guys went to California for like a little mini tour. How did that go? And what was the process like as far as setting those shows up? Because I know that you.
So it's tough, especially in places like San Francisco, because they're coming up with these stupid things like 30 days and 30-mile radius, so you can't play within a 30-mile radius within 30 days of your show, either side.
That's a wicked rule.
It's a horrifying rule, and it's
30 days.
And it's like, everybody has their part in all of making a scene somewhere, right? The bookers have a part in it. The venue owners have a part in it. The sound guy has a part in it. The bands have a part in it. Yeah. And the booking right now with these kinds of things will only serve to kill the environment, the scene that they're trying to make. And it's starting to creep in here. There's one place that I know of that does it now.
The 30 days thing?
It's 10 miles in 2 weeks.
Dude, that's...
But 30-mile radius in 30 days is the entire Bay Area. So you can only play one show every 2 months.
That's so messed up.
In the Bay Area with these clubs. And, we've talked a lot about how to make a scene happen. And you've got to allow bands to play more often than that so that they, with the other bands, can get that vibe going and sit in with each other and do these other things and get to know each other. And with stuff like that, it's just, and I would encourage everybody to not play those venues at this point because we don't want to let it creep in here.
Well, not even... Yeah, me and the Woodson guys went up to the range like a month or two ago, and it's just nice to book a couple shows. Like it's like just to make it worth it, Like we're driving out of town. Like it's nice to play a couple shows.
Yeah,
and I don't know.
That's kind of how it happened for me. Is I was going to go out there and build a deck for a friend of mine in San Francisco, and I'm like, well, let's have a couple shows. I know there's a great bar with great friends in Sonoma called the Starling, that my friends Fred and Liz own, and they have music there, so we'll play there, and then I've tried to find something in the Bay Area or down in San Francisco or whatever, and it was I was running into all that in this stupid stuff of like, well, I'd love to book you, but I think we'll wait till you're a little bit better known around here. I'm like, well, how am I going to get to be better known around here if I don't play there?
Right.
And it's like, and so that's the booker problem. The musician problem is always, well, I want to play here, I want to play in last, or I want to play here. There's ego there. There's the owners want to maximize every dollar they can get out of every show. So there's all these things working against you when you're trying to book. It's a very
Mm-hmm.
complicated, difficult thing. And you can't piss anybody off because you piss somebody off, you know,
Burning a
then
bridge.
you'll never
Yeah.
play there again as long as that booker's there anyways. And so, yeah, but so my buddy Eric Core, who I played with in a country punk band back in the day, was really fun. He got us on the lineup for a show that he
Cool.
was playing already at Zeitgeist in San Francisco, which was
Awesome.
fantastic. Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Well, what's the venue in our city that has that rule?
Well,
Tell me. Seriously?
yeah. Yeah. And I get it. I mean, I get the thinking. It totally makes sense on a
I
certain
get
level.
it too, but it's very gatekeepy.
But it doesn't actually work in the long run.
Yeah.
Because you kill the scene, you kill the camaraderie between the bands, and you kill the fan. It's like the idea is, you know, well, I want everybody that wants to come and watch you when you play at my venue.
Mm-hmm.
And then I'll maximize, and they got to make their living and they got to pay their nut too.
Yeah.
But the thing is, not everybody's going to make it anyways,
Mm-hmm.
because people have other stuff to do. So it's a tough one. I have understand it from all the sides, but it's like that you can't do it if what you really want is a scene, you know.
Right.
And that's what makes bands blow up, is a scene
Yeah.
in an area. Because what blew up in Minneapolis was all those
Mm-hmm.
bands happening at the same time and that camaraderie, and you can't make that happen without being able to play all the time. And yeah, sometimes it's going to be a dud of a night. Not as many people will come, but that's just part of the ball game.
Right. I saw you recently at Mojo.
Oh, yeah.
Like you weren't playing, but you were also there. And we were talking about something along the lines of creativity.
Oh,
I
sure.
can't remember
right.
exactly what the conversation was, but I was like, wait, save it for the pod. Do you remember what we were talking about?
Oh, I was just talking about that. So I do a little bit of writing and some work on critique and criticism, like critiquing for like an art class and having a critique. And
Okay.
it relates to writing reviews, all this kind of, it's all critique, talking about it. And all this romanticism and mysticism around creativity always pops up, and it drives me nuts.
Mm-hmm.
And when people say, oh, you're so creative, I'm not creative. And I'm like, well, what do you do for work? And they're like, well, I'm a computer engineer or whatever. I said, well, what do you do though? I mean, what part of that do you do? Well, I develop new software. And I stopped right there. I said, you just said new.
Yeah.
You develop something new, that's creative. Everything is creative.
Yeah.
There's creative everywhere. When you're figuring out how to get your kid to go to bed at night, you're being creative. When you know, it's all creativity, and it's not magical. And to me, it's like, to me, sometimes the magicalness and the romance of it totally obliterates what's really happening, and it gets made that way. And to me, it's a really real thing for me. It's not, I don't talk about it like the muse and the, you know, and I just let this magic come in or whatever. To me, it's not magic. It's a combination of working hard, of being serious about it, taking it seriously, and the other things of letting it happen, opening up to whatever.
Yeah.
But to me, it's not some magical muse voice speaking in my head. It's me getting out of the way so what is in my head can organize itself and let itself come out of me. And it's all the stuff that comes in every day, all the time, constantly, and then it comes out. But
love that take.
and that's the trick for me, is to do. And as you get older and there's more stuff going on in your life, it's harder to get to that point. And that's what I'm struggling with right now. But I think in a lot of ways, being all mystical and magical about it lessens it.
Sure.
The reality of the hard work that people really put into it. You know, I didn't just get lucky and have an angel on my shoulder that allowed me to write Little Lila.
Yeah.
Right. I just told the story literally in her words of when she was born, and that's it. I mean, so, and I just had just tell the story that I already knew.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I like that take. I've been talking about this on the pod already, but I'm just now like, trying harder to write songs, like being more intentional about it. And I've always liked to write, and I've always, had little ideas, but I feel like I've never really finished anything. And I think that's as far as the muse or whatever took me. Like, it is the hard work and the actual, like, I want to make this happen. That's giving me finished products. And I think sometimes I feel like I have a hard time with feeling like, am I putting in hard work or am I forcing it? I think
there's a
it's
balance
such a
there.
complicated thing to do to make art of any kind.
Yeah, I have friends that talk about it in all kinds of ways. But I had one friend that was like, no, I'm in complete control of it at all times. I manifest it. It comes straight from me. There is no muse. I work and rework every single line and blah, blah, blah. And it's like, well, and it works for him. It doesn't sound, songs don't sound like
forced,
that, but they do. They are more literary in a certain sense, the songs that he writes. So it's just a different, and overworking stuff can really destroy something too, right? So you got to know when to stop. And,
it's just,
or force yourself to finish though, but then know when to stop. Yeah.
Right. I
It's
wonder
work.
if
It's hard.
Yeah. I wonder if I'll ever figure it out, or if I'll ever have like I mean, I feel like
I hope
Aurelia
not.
is side-eyeing me.
I hope you don't figure it out, because then, then people stick into, that's how formulas get created. You know? So you don't want to figure it out in a certain way like that.
Yeah. Do you have a take, Aurelia? Yeah, I feel like I'm making good music, but I don't know. I feel like I do kind of hope I figure it out in a way of like, I hope that at some point it flows better. Like, what is your writing process like? Do you ever get into a flow like state, or is it for you to just like?
This is another topic to me that is like, it's not really worth discussing in depth for me. Okay. Because it's all the above, and it's everything, and it just happens. And I don't have a process. The process is the least important thing to me in all of this. I'm more interested in the finished product. Yeah. So when I'm writing a song, I'm thinking about, okay, well, how do I finish this? What is it going to do? Or like, okay, well, it needs a bridge because it's a little flat. It doesn't have a little poke of dynamic, so I have to write a bridge. Sure. And then that's when can be brutally difficult to, this song isn't done because it needs something else, but you have no idea what it is, and you got to force it. But it's always with the finished product in mind. And that's another thing that was great about recording this record this time with the guys, is that things happened in the takes that we took that we hadn't even rehearsed. Like in the song this time, we get to the end, and I thought Jake and I were going to do one of our, like in Morning Comes, where we're both kind of playing leads and bouncing off of each other. Yep. But he looked to Scotty to take an organ solo. Oh. And I'm like, I hadn't really thought about an organ solo in this song, but it happened. And then Jake came in with his solo at the end. And so that was what happened that day, that hour in the studio. And the songs are alive. They're going to change. They're going to be, I play my songs in different ways, acoustic and slow, or electric and fast, or, I try to move them around as much as I can. So I don't think of when I finish the song, like, this is the way it's going to live forever. This is the starting point. Let's see what happens. And now it's 30 years later for a lot of these songs with me. And what's happened to them is pretty exciting, I think, how they've changed. Definitely.
This is making me think of, so have you ever released? I'm sure you have. I feel like I'm scared of
Don't be scared.
I'm scared of releasing music and then like a year later or whenever being like, That sucks.
Well, that happens. I mean,
I don't want to experience
well, sorry.
that.
There's
I
no
don't
way
want
around
that.
it. That's part of putting yourself out there, you know? It's like, and you don't know if you suck sometimes or if
Yeah.
it's good. Like what I was talking about earlier, when it was agony, we had some technical difficulties and we had to sit around without talking to each other.
Yeah.
So we didn't waste anything for this. But we did talk about um the song. I just looked up the data on my
Most listened to.
listens to songs on all the platforms, and I was really shocked at which song was the most listened to. And it's a little acoustic folky love song that I've never considered in my realm of the best songs that
Yeah.
I've done. But I'm like, oh wow, that trips me out. And then the songs I really love and think that are so great sometimes people don't
Yeah.
connect with. But that's just part of it, you know.
Yeah.
You look at the people who put out the most work, like, you know, people will talk about Dylan, how he can be good or bad depending on the night or the record.
Yeah.
And it's like, you know, I don't think any of it's bad. I think he's completely intentional about what he's doing. And sometimes he's saying fuck you to the listeners too, right?
Yeah.
But you don't know. You're not in control of that either.
Mm-hmm.
So you just got to put it out there and just go forward. And sometimes you can take a song that you realize sucked and you didn't like the way it was recorded, like I did with some of these songs, what happened in that day, and do it again. Just do it again, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I've been thinking about this a lot lately of writing. You know, for me, a lot of times writing and singing is just like, for me, such an awesome form of self-expression. It's such a release, especially when I'm singing my own songs that mean something to me.
Yeah, yeah.
But sometimes I struggle with like writing a song for me, like to help me release whatever I'm trying to let go of, or writing a song that's not really for me, but that maybe others will connect to. Like, do you have any takes on that of like writing a song for you or writing for the listener?
If I'm writing for it to be listened to, I'm not writing for myself. If I was writing for myself, it would be something I didn't release.
Interesting.
Yeah, and I know there's a lot of people that in art and music and all the creative fields talk about the therapeutic stuff. But if it's really a personal therapeutic issue, I'll journal that or I'll talk about it with a therapist or something. I don't myself have a place for the specifics of it in my performing. But yes, I mean, a friend of mine talked about not, if you're a creative person in this kind of way or whatever it is you are built to do and you are meant to do, as it were. I don't like that word meant to do either. But if you're not doing it, you're going to be unhappy.
Yeah.
You know, you're going to be miserable. She said it's like being on a dry drunk, you know, and so yeah, there is emotional release. There's fun, there's joy, there's anger, there's rage, there's all of it, you know, all of that stuff. But and that's what I'm willing to share is my actual performance, but not
anything
truly
deeper than
personal
that.
stuff.
Yeah.
I don't do it for those reasons. Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Fair take. I'm definitely not that way. Like, I think everything I write is very personal and I hope that that's what's going to make my music good, honestly. I really hope that.
Well, it has to be personal. I mean, so yeah, I mean, it's, you know, they're very personal for me. You know, I mean, I tear up when I sing 2 weeks. It's hard for me to get through 2 weeks ago today.
Yeah.
And Little Lila sometimes.
Those are actually my two faves.
If a family member's there and I'm doing Little Lila, or my friends that knew the friend I wrote 2 weeks ago today about, it's emotional for me. But it's not my internal struggle with those issues that I see
emoting. What you're saying. Yeah.
Yeah, it's the story that I'm emoting. Okay. You know, my personal internal issues with kind of like the way the chorus goes in Little Lila is not part of her story. That's me putting it in there then. But it's also doesn't exactly match her, but it evokes things I'm thinking about
Yeah.
when I wrote that song.
Sure.
You know, that just popped into my head, and I let the poetic license then take it from there. But so yeah, I know I have different views on some of these things, and I don't like to get romantic and mushy about them because I think that takes away from the realness and the work that people
Yeah.
put into it. I don't give something else credit, but then try to keep my ego down,
Yeah.
but also give myself a pat on the back for the hard work that I'm putting in.
Right.
And there is no way you can do this without it being really hard on you. You know, you get young people especially, getting out of school or whatever, dealing with the how do I pay my rent and buy the guitar pedal that I need or
Yeah.
get the studio time. You know, it's brutal. It's really hard because you're dividing yourself. If you could just not have to divide yourself and only do one thing and dive in 100% all in, all your eggs in a basket, and have the funding to do it, everything,
Yeah.
that's one thing. But
Yeah.
almost nobody has that
Right.
opportunity.
Let's talk performance. Is there anything that you do to prepare for a performance?
No, performing is probably my weakest thing at this point, just because I hadn't done it a lot for a long time. I think when I was playing a lot in the Bay Area, I got pretty comfortable with it. And with Gunpowder, we were all kind of characters. I mean, Eric's idea about it was we were this like comic book superhero cowboys.
What's Gunpowder?
So Gunpowder was the country punk band I played
Okay.
in San Francisco for a while with Eric Core, who's like a mainstay. He was a solo acoustic guy at the time, and my buddy Dan, who played in Deer Crossing, decided to put a band together for him. So I started playing with them, and so we had to be a character of a certain.
Sure.
I was Sammy Six String, which was my son's name is Sam, so I took on that, and we all had. He was Major Core, and the idea was he was even going to get someone to write a comic book about our adventures and stuff. Like I think Kiss had one of those too, right? So, but it was just kind of a goofy idea. But I had some conversations with my buddy Don and my buddy Rick, who played with us that night. He came in from California and is one of my longtime friends from the open mic scene. And he was like, I was like, yeah, performing is a challenge because I want to be authentic, but I have to perform. It is show business, no matter what level you're doing it at. It's show business, and you are putting on a show for people, and you want to entertain. And a lot of people's comments were like, you know, you don't really make eye contact with the crowd, and blah blah blah. And I'm like, oh, eye contact with the crowd, like, but it's like finding the part of you that's the performer in you. The part of that you want it. So it's not making up. It can be making up a character if that's what you want to do. But for me, it's more about finding the part of me that wants to be up there and express itself and let loose a little bit. And that's what I'm working on finding.
Yeah. Cool. We were just talking about this. Yeah, I feel the same way. Like I don't really feel like a performer, but through the conversation we had earlier, I feel like I realized that when I'm on stage, I'm definitely a different version of myself, and but it's still me, and it's and I don't know where it comes from. It's not like I'm trying to act a certain way or I'm not trying to do it. I just do it. So I guess that's kind of performing.
And it can, it can be like, authentic. What do you wear when you're on stage can have a part in bringing that part of you out and stuff. And I think it's just that. I think it's like, don't worry about being authentic. Most people can't help but be authentic in some way, but pushing some other stuff away and letting some other stuff come to the front isn't not being authentic. Right. It's just segmenting. For performance sake. Yeah. Right?
Sure.
I mean, I'm not going to jump around like Prince on stage, I know that, and stuff like that. So I know what side of me it is. And it's pretty much staring at my toes, but but I'm trying to find ways for it to just what I wear or stuff like that.
Sure. Yeah. When I was in high school, I was in a rock band with Bob DeLache.
Oh, nice.
And My dad used to be like, you know, watch videos of people performing. Like watch what's the lead singer
Yeah.
of Hailstorm doing when
Yeah.
she's on stage, you know?
Yeah.
Things like that. And I definitely like watch and take notes. And I brought up Dylan Hicks as an example earlier too.
Yeah.
Like the way he dances on stage is so cool to me. Like I want to feel that free and fun on stage. And I don't think like I couldn't do what Dylan does if I wasn't making myself. You know, like where's the line of like pushing myself to feel free on stage, and you know what I mean?
I think you just have to do it, and you have to try things. And if it doesn't work, put it aside, and the stuff that works, keep it around.
Yeah.
But you also like, I heard him mention too, sometimes it's expected that he's going to dance and he feels then it's performative. Then it leaves the realm of what that does for him in that moment. And then, so you can't do what's expected of you. And, you know, it's like when Bowie decided he wasn't going to play any of the old songs because he didn't, you know, but that's one of the things I love about Dylan is that he'll be halfway through hearing a song, playing it live, and not even know what song it is. And then it dawns on you what song it is because he changed it so radically, you know. Mazzy Star stood on stage in front of the microphone and didn't move and was riveting, right? But in other people, you know, Mick Jagger runs around like a rooster on stage, and it's a different kind of riveting. So it's all there. It's all of it's. You just have to find it by doing it.
Yeah. Definitely. We still haven't asked you how you define success.
Oh, the big question of the podcast, right? Well, God. It won't surprise you that I don't. I don't give a shit about success in terms of like defining goals. It for myself. So in that word, I mean, there's some words that I just avoid in life, right? That I think are so either poorly used, overused, or destructive in their nature. And success is one of them.
I actually completely agree.
Right? And like the word believe is another one for me. I just try never to use the word believe.
Wait, say more about that.
It comes out of my wrestling like most people do with religion and stuff. So I grew up, I got a Catholic dad and a Jewish mom. So I got all kinds of guilt thrown at me and from all different directions, and all kinds of that bullshit. And I went through my thing, and it's like I just can't blindly believe anything. Faith is a destructive force to me. And I know it helps other people get through difficult things in their lives, and I understand the function of these things and how the positive side of them. But to me, I have to go. Sometimes I just go on faith, right? It's like fake it till you make it is a version of that, right? And I understand the function of that. But the idea is to make it. So fake it in the meantime, but figure it out and get there so you know what you're doing. In the end, if you just sit in the faith and belief, for me, that's where it can become destructive.
Yeah, dude.
Same with success. So for me, success is just, am I playing music today? Fuck yeah, we're good. Yeah. Am I making some art today? And, you know, and I've gone through my health issues and stuff in the last few years with colon cancer. And
oh my God, really? I didn't know that.
Yeah. I had colon, right after I moved back, I got diagnosed with colorectal cancer.
Oh my gosh.
So I had downtime again. As soon as I got back and ready to get out there and start rocking and making art again, I got hammered with that. And then COVID hit right in the middle of it. So I was getting chemo right when the mask confusion was going on, and people were like, don't wear a mask. And I even had people unfriend me because it's like, science is the thing. And they say no, because they said no masks at first. And I'm like, sorry, but I'm getting chemo. I'm wearing a mask when I go to the grocery store. And now, you know, it all changes. But so for me, literally playing every day, and I didn't think it affected me that much in terms of, you know, all right, am I going to have a midlife crisis or a post-illness crisis? And I wouldn't say it was a crisis at all, but I do know it focused my attention. And what I want to be doing is making art and playing music and doing all these lovely things like podcasts
Cool.
and talking with my friends about art and music all the time.
Mm-hmm.
And so to me, success, literally, it's just waking up in the morning is success.
Cool.
You know?
I like
And,
that.
yeah.
Before we go, do you want to plug any upcoming shows or?
I don't have a lot of upcoming shows
Okay.
immediately. Some stuff later on, and we're playing at the Terminal Bar at the end of March. I don't even know. They're so far out. It's kind
That's
of a
okay.
bummer. But I'm caught in that booking problem right now. Is nobody knows who I am, so it's hard to get a gig. And
Sure.
yeah. So, but
even like in the Twin Cities, you feel like it's hard to get a gig.
It has been for me. It's been very hard to get a gig. So again, either I suck or or I don't know what it is. But you know, that gets to me more than anything else. Like when someone won't book me, when I have trouble getting a gig, that's hard.
Interesting. I haven't really tried to book anything here yet, but I guess I just imagined that it wouldn't be I just figured I'd call somebody up and be like, "Hey, listen to this single I dropped." No, that's
well, it's tough because there's so many people doing it. It's so easy to do, and it's hard to, and you know, honestly, like the bookers are the gatekeeper in so many ways. And how do you get through to a booker? You know, how do you got to go talk to them in person? But then, you know, I can't imagine what a booking person like even at like Jason at the 331 or what their inbox looks like on a daily basis, you know, the amount of.
Yeah. Who are you reaching out to try to book, or like, where do you want to play?
Well, where do I want to play? I mean, obviously that's a different story.
Stadiums.
Where, you know, well, I mean, to me, okay, here's a little success thing for you. Here's a goal. If I were ever to play the main stage at First Avenue, that would be my career complete.
Cool.
Right. That's goal, like anything after that is cake. So we are working on a show. I shouldn't say who it's with, but it's with one of the bigger, older Minnesota bands.
Shut up.
And we've got the okay to do it. We're just trying to schedule it is the hard part, right? So, which will be really fun. And it's someone that I grew up with too. I mean, we weren't super good friends when we through high school and everything, but we do have that common history. And the St. Louis Park music thing is just such a big deal. I just love being from there where all the great stuff has come out of St. Louis Park. And
cool. Where can everybody find you on Instagram or other socials? Yeah,
so Greg Volker Music, both Instagram and Facebook. The webpage, I'm having the webpage blues, and it's been a struggle to get it out, but that should be done soon. And that'll be Greg Volker Music as well. Greg Volker or gregvolkermusic.com. I'm not sure which I'm not sure. We have to do some maneuver in there, but so that's where to go.
Cool. Well, thank you so much for being here.
Oh, thanks for having me. I really appreciate it. Yeah.
Woohoo. You got nothing.